This week on Jerusalem Dateline, Donald Trump takes the stage as America's new leader. How will his administration treat the nation of Israel? Some say the change from President Obama will be like night and day.
I think it will be dramatic and it'll be immediate.
Plus, we take the pulse of Israelis on the street and what they think of America's new president. And a recent discovery that shows Israel's ancient connection to the land. This week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. The inauguration of President Trump marks what many hope will be the start of better relations between the U.S. and Israel. For 8 years, President Obama often took a hard line against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his policies. Now it looks like we're about to see a big change. When Donald Trump stunned the world on Election Day, some knew it also signaled a transformation in the U.S.-Israeli relationship.
Night and day. I think it will be dramatic and it'll be immediate. There's no doubt in my mind.
Former Governor Mike Huckabee sees a big difference over the last 8 years.
I'm very optimistic about these next few years. I think it's going to mark a dramatically improved relationship between Israel and the United States.
The one thing that we can be very confident about with Donald J. Trump is he's a man of change.
Trump transition team member Becky Norton Dunlap believes Trump will take a new look at old Middle East problems.
I think that's one reason why people in Israel who have not liked the old way of doing things are hopeful and optimistic, because they at least see that in this new president, America is going to relook at some of these old problems.
Huckabee sees the failed two-state solution, the plan to give the Palestinians their own country side by side with Israel, as one old problem. Another one, the unwillingness to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. He expects David Friedman, Trump's choice for ambassador to Israel, will be part of addressing those changes.
I think he believes we need to stop the BDS movement, which is very hurtful, not just to Israelis, it's hurtful to the Arab population of Israel as well. I think he will lead in helping get the embassy moved, and I hope he will help to forever put an end to what I consider an unworkable, irrational policy of the so-called two-state solution that, frankly, both Democrats and Republicans have put forward.
The signal is we're going to take a new look at things, and we're putting someone in there who's not the same old, same old.
With his decisions so far, it's fair to say that the Middle East hasn't seen anything quite like Donald Trump. In the waning days of his presidency, President Obama tried to change the dynamics of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. First, he ordered the U.S. to abstain from UN Resolution 2334 that declared parts of Jerusalem and the biblical land of Judea and Samaria occupied Palestinian territory. After that, many expected the Paris Peace Summit to continue to paint Israel into a diplomatic corner. But the summit ended with more of a fizzle than a bang. More than 70 countries sent representatives to the Paris Peace Summit, including more than 30 foreign ministers. But the final resolution said nothing new.
Our first goal is to say, with strength, that a two-state solution is the only possible one. It is the only one that provides an answer to the legitimate aspirations and rights of both parties.
But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the conference would only drive peace further away.
It creates a bigger gap regarding peace because it hardens the Palestinian stance and distances direct negotiations without preconditions.
Israel was concerned the summit would become a springboard for another anti-Israel resolution at the UN. The U.S. abstained, allowing anti-settlement resolution 2334 to pass just before Christmas. But Secretary of State John Kerry called Netanyahu to assure him that wouldn't be the case. CBN senior editor John Waggy said Kerry's statement is a reflection of a major transition.
I think this could be a real pivot point as far as world diplomacy goes, because the incoming Trump administration has signaled that they aren't prepared to do business as usual. And business as usual for the past 40 years essentially has been Israel needs to make painful sacrifices in order to bring peace with the Palestinians.
Now Israel is waiting to see how the Trump presidency will change the Middle East. Well, joining me to talk more about the incoming Trump administration and the impact on Israel is CBN News senior editor John Waggy and CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl. Julie, John, thanks for joining us here on Jerusalem Dateline. John, tell us about, you talked about a historical pivot point in this story we just aired. Can you expound on that? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think, Chris, that there's a potential for a world-changing, historical page-turning, chapter-turning with the exit of the Obama administration and the incoming Trump administration, because the action that's already been taken in Washington, even before Trump was inaugurated, is Congress on Capitol Hill really changing the entire tone of the U.S. policy toward Israel especially, and defending in the United Nations Israel's actions there and Israel's right to be there. So we have legislation from senators like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz who are blocking funding for the United Nations if their bill passes unless the Resolution 2334 is repealed. And then we have other legislation, and also the testimony of Nikki Haley, who will be the ambassador to the UN, talking about Israel's treatment of the UN as a kick in the gut and saying she plans to change the Obama administration policies. So that's a big change in foreign policy for the entire world, not just the United States.
Right, and you had mentioned earlier that before we went on camera, maybe similar to what happened in 1981 when Reagan took over from Jimmy Carter.
There is that possibility. The tone is going to change dramatically. Now, one thing Reagan didn't have when he took over from Carter was all the protesters that planned to protest Trump's inauguration and the time right after that. With Reagan, there was still a civility in the country that we don't see right now. So there is that change.
Julie, you've been down to Mahane Yehuda. We're going to share that later in the show. You've talked to Israelis, and we have a reaction from even the mayor of Jerusalem. How would you define or characterize the reaction here in Israel to the new Trump administration?
Well, I think everybody's pretty happy about it. Even before the elections, even when Trump just had first won, people were saying like, well, we thought we liked Hillary, but we think Trump will be better for Israel. So definitely people are looking forward to a friend in the White House, different than President Obama was. I know Prime Minister Netanyahu, this is the first time he will have worked with a Republican president.
That's right,
And the mayor of Jerusalem is kind of campaigning on behalf of Trump because he wants to move the embassy to Jerusalem.
That's right. Speaking of that, that's a huge issue right now here in Israel, and I know Trump seems to be the first president in a long time to actually make good on his promise to move the embassy. What impact do you think that's going to have here in Jerusalem, Israel, and the Middle East?
Yeah, the Middle East is threatening to burn if Trump moves the embassy. The Palestinians said it'll be really bad. They'll launch another intifada. Whether that really happens or not, we don't know. I don't know if it could happen. That doesn't mean that it's wrong to do it, but it could happen. Or I don't know if Trump is perceived as really as strong as he seems to be, then I think we probably won't have a problem.
Yeah, exactly. John, one other thing that's going to change the dynamics of the quote-unquote peace process. We have a new ambassador designate, David Friedman, who really takes a whole different view of the peace process in the West Bank or Biblical Judea and Samaria. What changes is that going to have on the peace process?
Well, we look at Resolution 2334, where it says that any Jewish settlement, basically in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, is illegal. This is the world's position, and it was adopted by a number of nations. The United States, under Trump, and Ambassador Friedman comes in and basically says, this is disputed territory, not occupied. That's a sea change from what we've seen before. And if they follow through on it, it could take the world by the tail, really, and reverse what's been happening here for decades under the so-called Oslo peace process, which Israel trades land for only promises of peace and never gets the peace. So it's a real marker that could change world history, really.
And John, final question to you. I know we talked about this, a lot of euphoria going on right now, but there really is a spiritual battle. How would you address the spiritual battle that we're facing right now, and how can Christians be praying?
Well, I think, first of all, the fact that Christians are praying, believers are praying in the United States, in Washington, D.C., across the country. Believers are praying here in Jerusalem for what is about to unfold here. And I don't think that can stop. You can't just rest on your laurels, because this could be a very convulsive time ahead. And people need to be praying day by day, hour by hour, week by week. to see the plans and purposes for the Lord. That's what we're supposed to pray for, the peace of Jerusalem, and that His plans will be set and manifested here.
That's a great reminder to pray for the peace of Jerusalem like the Bible commands us, and I'm sure many people will be doing that. So Julie, John, thanks for joining us, and we'll be talking more as time goes on for this historic change here in Israel and the Middle East. Thanks. Up next, will President Trump shake up Europe?
He wants to make America strong again, and frankly, for the Western world and Western values, that's important.
Welcome back. Conservatives in Europe hope a Trump administration might lead to stronger security policies and help shake up the establishment there. Here's CBN's correspondent Julie Stahl with that story.
The record number of refugees in Europe, combined with terror attacks like those in Belgium and Germany, makes some conservatives long for change. The kind of change President Donald Trump promises to bring the U.S. Media on both sides of the Atlantic, however, are pushing back on that notion.
First of all, the Belgian press has been terrible vis-à-vis Trump, his movement before the election, after the election.
Several European politicians attending the recent Jerusalem Leaders Summit told CBN News they look forward to America under Trump. Michael Modrikamen says while most Belgians don't understand politics in the U.S. or Trump's whole story, many are drawn to him all the same.
When you listen to people and people in the street, they say, we need also a Donald Trump in Belgium. That's very funny. So they don't know exactly, and they hear only bad news, but they say, okay, we need somebody that is shaking the system, and it's exactly what we're willing to do, shaking the system.
Last year, Modrikamen praised Trump in a video filmed only 11 days before ISIS suicide attacks in Brussels that killed more than 30 people.
America should not become another Brussels. It was once a vibrant, entrepreneurial, joyful, peaceful city. That was before. Brussels is becoming a third world city. We are just lost in a kind of a postmodern society, hedonistic society, and it's exactly what America shouldn't become.
I think in Sweden they wanted Hillary to win, the most people, but I think Donald can make a difference, and he's a very powerful man, and I think it's going to be great.
European Parliament member Christina Winberg believes many of the 100,000 migrants in her country could become radicalized, so Sweden should take a cue from Trump.
Some things that Donald said about taking action on criminals and stop the migrants, and I agree with something of that.
Britain has already gone a step further. Roger Helmer says his country's vote to leave the European Union in June may have paved the way for Trump's victory.
I think there was a very real impact, and given that Donald Trump's victory, while it was wonderful, was by a pretty narrow margin, I really think that the inspiration of Brexit, of the people saying we've had enough of this and we're going to do something different, I think that could have tipped it.
Helmer said Trump has received what he calls negative ratings in Europe.
Frankly, if you go back through some of the comments he made through the campaign, well, you can understand why the bleeding heart liberals would be pretty upset. But I think in terms of what he's really going to do, he's a man of the right sort of values for America and for the world.
He says Trump's goals are good for Western civilization.
He wants to make America strong again, and frankly, for the Western world and Western values, that's important.
Coming up, what Israelis are saying about President Trump.
I don't think we can believe anything he says up until now because he's not good on his words, so we'll see.
And of course he's going to be good Israel. He likes Israel, he's good to the Jewish people.
Welcome back. After 8 years of rough relations between President Obama and Israel, many Israelis see change on the horizon with this new administration. we asked Israelis in Jerusalem's Mahane Yehuda market how they think President Trump will be for Israel.
What do you think of Donald Trump, and do you think he'll be good for Israel?
We don't know yet, but we hope it will be good for Israel. We are very disappointed from Obama, and we're hoping that it will be better.
I don't think we can believe anything he says up until now because he's not good on his word, so we'll see.
And of course it's going to be good Israel. He likes Israel. He's good to the Jewish people.
We've had Obama for 8 years, and it's enough. We need to change.
He's saying what is in heart or something like that. I think it's the world have liked that to get Trump.
Israel people very believe in the Trump. Is all the people is good for Jewish people.
I don't know. It seems like a impulsive guy. I don't know. I mean, the people he's appointed so far looks like they're good for Israel, but who knows?
Everybody thinks he's going to be good for Israel. Who knows? Let's see what he's going to do.
It's be good, it's be best from Israel. I believe. I love Trump.
Do you think it's a good idea for him to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem?
Of course. It's very good to move the embassy because everybody has to come to Israel, to Jerusalem before Tel Aviv.
I don't think it matters that much. I don't think that's what people should be focused on. People put far too much emphasis and weight on that.
I think it's a good idea, but I don't know about the repercussions.
Either way, I don't think it matters either one way or the other. Just a symbolic thing that people will get over. I don't think it's really makes any difference.
The embassy must to move to Jerusalem.
He must do this.
Yes.
Why?
This is the capital of Israel forever.
That's a very good idea.
Yes, he needed to do what he said. He needs to put in here all the buildings. No more in Tel Aviv.
The only thing that Trump needs to do is decide that the consulate should be the embassy, and that's it. He doesn't have to build anything, just to change the title.
What do you think about the two-state solution? Do you think it's going to work?
Most of the people in Israel think that this is not a good solution, because as we can see from all around the Middle East, every time that such a solution was offered, it failed.
On paper, it sounds great. Is it realistic? Is it feasible? Do the leaders actually want it on both sides? No.
No, because there's two small states to this part. The state to the Jewish is one state, no need for the Arab. Have 22 states. Go there.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it ever work. I don't think so.
I don't have nothing against the Arab. Well, I think that Trump can do something about this.
I think that's not on the table right now. I think more important right now is to have good relationships between people in neighborhoods and make the economy work well, and all other solutions are for a future date.
Are you optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. I'm a Jew. Jews waiting for the Mashiach.
I'm always optimistic. That's my nature. But I don't know.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm a believer.
Overall, yeah.
What right do the Jewish people have to the land?
Of course, the very simple answer is the Bible.
It's from the Bible. We have the right to be here. We conquered it in 67, as it was ours.
Up next, a significant archaeological discovery that lines up with the Bible.
And I'm amazed to see repeatedly that archaeological evidence goes so beautifully along with the biblical story.
Welcome back. The Hebrew University recently announced one of the most significant archaeological finds in years. It's a find that affirms the biblical record and the life of one of Israel's most famous kings. It's small, only 1 centimeter wide, but it's already made a big impact. It's called a bulla, an ancient seal. What makes this so significant is the name on the seal.
We discovered the seal impression imprinted by King Hezekiah himself, saying very clearly in ancient Hebrew, Lechizkiyahu, Achaz, Melech Yehuda, belongs to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judea.
Hebrew University archaeologist Elat Mazar discovered the seal during one of her excavations. For Mazar, it was the discovery of a lifetime.
Astonished. This was, I think, this was most amazed find for me personally, ever. I was kind of amazed.
Mazar and her team discovered the Bula in this area. It's called the Ophel, built by King Solomon and located at the southern wall of the Temple Mount. Mazar says the discovery is unprecedented.
We never found in archaeological excavations, scientific stratigraphy, such an item that is so close, private, tangible to any of the Israelite or Judean king ever. I believe it's as close as we can get to any biblical figure, not to mention such a figure as King Hezekiah.
The Bible describes Hezekiah in 2 Kings 18:5. It says, "He trusted in the Lord God of Israel, so that after him was none like him among all the kings of Judah, nor who were before him." Mazar says the Bula was King Hezekiah's personal seal for important documents. She says the find validates the Bible.
And I'm amazed to see repeatedly that archaeological evidence goes so beautifully along with the biblical story. It just repeatedly showing us that so much of the biblical narratives are accurate. Simply as that, accurate.
The find also connects the Jewish people to ancient Israel.
We're talking about, 2,800 years, just as the Bible says. We're talking about the kingdom of Judah and Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. We're talking about the history of Jerusalem in such a tangible, independent way.
The discovery of King Hezekiah's seal is just one of many discoveries that shows Israel's connection to the land. Well, that's all for this edition. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.